Hey everyone, this is our first live interview and first podcast. I am Nichole Kathryn with Nichole Kathryn Studios. We have started a new podcast called The She Spark, and it's about igniting your creativity, passion, and purpose through your intuition. I'm a photographer, a fine artist, and an intuitive. I've decided to start this podcast to be able to share some of the stories of the amazing women that I see and interact with on a daily basis. I specialize in portrait photography specifically for women, and I'm also an intuitive, and I've been an intuitive since I've been a little girl, but only recently in the past few years have I expanded on my development, and I'm really wanting to make a conscious approach to integrate that within my portrait photography. And I also have approached it intuitively for many, many years, but I want to be more purposeful and more conscious of it to help empower as many women as I can. I've been blessed with the opportunity to meet and work with some very, very smart, strong, and talented women, like the one I have here. It just wouldn't be fair for me to keep these ladies a secret. So I decided to invite these women for each episode, and they all have amazing stories to tell, and a story that started with a small spark and a lot of passion. So I want to take a deep dive into how these women discovered their gifts and how they used their intuition to guide them along the way. And remember, sharing our gifts is a superpower, and it's our duty and job in this place we call Earth School. So let's get into it. We've got Mary Reid here. She's a fine artist, and I will let Mary tell you a little bit more about what she does.
Hi.
Hey,
How
Mary.
are you today?
Doing well. How are you? So good to see you.
I'm great. Thank you. Yes, I'm a fine artist. I'm an oil painter. You would consider my work classical realism. I love, Bouguereau and Sorolla and color and light and people. And so that's mainly what I do.
Awesome. And I've seen your work, and it's absolutely stunning. Of course, I do portrait photography, but literally her art is like looking at a photograph. But it's beyond a photograph. It's the sensibility that she has that is so amazing, and her creative interpretation, while it's very realist, there's something deeper about it. So how did you get started in painting? And I know you've been a makeup artist. I work with you doing that as well. You've been a stylist, worn lots of hats, but in the past 5 or so years, you've really circled back to this fine art painting. So explain a little bit about how you got started.
Gosh, the more and more I talk to other women artists, the more I realize that my story is not unique in any way. I think as a child, that was my thing. I loved drawing. I loved art. That was where I would shine. I was not athletic. I was like the last kid picked on every team. Oh, we'll take Mary. I was that kid, but I loved art. And but as you get older and you need to make a living, I did not grow up financially, in a great place. And so I wanted to make money because I wanted to buy clothes and I wanted to do things. And you start working, and then you fall in love, and then you work and you have children, and, and that becomes your world. And you kind of, I did major in art when I first got out of high school, when I went to community college, and then when I went to transfer to university. During that time, it was like the late 80s. All of our teachers were like from the 60s. So they were really into like that funky, rebellious, abstract kind of thing. And so when I went to university and I had the advisor look at my portfolio, and she saw all these, pretty pictures of girls and, things, She basically made me feel like I didn't belong there. And that's what the story I told myself is, you know what? I'm not an artist. I'm not creative in that way. I just can copy things. And so I went on and I did all these art adjacent kind of things. I was a docent with the Phoenix Art Museum so that I could be around the beautiful art that I loved. I was a makeup artist, so I was an artist in a way, and I got to look at beautiful faces, and I got to make people, I got to look at them and see what it was that was so beautiful about them and bring that out in them. But I really wasn't doing art in any way. And then, like right before COVID, on New Year's Eve, instead of having a something I'm giving up, I said, I'm not giving anything up. I'm bringing art back into my life. I don't know how, but I am. And there's a school here called Scottsdale Artist School. And that school, basically really great artists from all over the world really will come and they'll teach like a week workshop. And so I just signed up for like all these workshops. I would look at the catalog and look at all these paintings that appealed to me. And I started taking these workshops. And there were so many tears involved because there's really so much to learn to do what I wanted to do. You need to know how to draw, and you need to know, what to do with color and paint. And there's just so many things. And I would just get into these workshops where I didn't know what I was doing. But I just loved it so much, even though I would cry a lot, that I just wanted to keep going. And so that's how I got back into it.
That's amazing. So what do you feel that really allowed you to push yourself? Do you feel like it was your listening to your inner guidance more so than your ego mind, just our brain kind of saying you're not meant to do this? Did you sense a pivot there where things started flowing more?
Probably. And the more I did it, I had a mentor, artist, who is just really good at the business side of art. And so she was mentoring me for a while. And although I realized that it's not about that, for me, it's such a fulfilling thing for me to do, and that's why I should be doing it, not to try to make a business out of it. Once I realized that, then things flowed. But the one thing she said is, when you're doing art, your whole purpose is for people to see it. Not everyone's going to love it. But there are people that will need to see it and will love it. And the only way to get it out there is either pay for a spot in a magazine or enter these competitions and things. And that's not how I wanted to do things. I didn't want to pay for my way to be seen. I wanted to be really good, and just paying for it wasn't going to fulfill that for me. So I just started entering all these contests or competitions, and just rejection for years, just rejection, But I kept going because I knew that I was working every day, and it was based on one person seeing it and it speaking to them. And I just relied on that and just enjoyed myself and didn't think about making money or becoming famous or anything. And probably in the last year, I've been in 4 shows. I've been in a few competitions. I've been accepted. I have a really exciting project coming up that I'm just loving, and it all is just because I just paint. It's what I want to do. I arrange my models. I have an idea. I arrange my models. I do a shoot, and sometimes you help me with those shoots. But I have this idea, and I don't care about it being maybe too trite for some people or not, dark enough or crazy enough or whatever. I know what I love. I know what when you see that piece of art in a museum and it just moves you, and that's what I'm interested in doing. So,
Well, are you finding that letting go of the motivation for success and fame and fortune, and shifting that back into your sole purpose, have you noticed the irony in that shift when you decide to listen to your intuition, listen to your higher self, and really focus on being of service? And you're serving yourself, but you're serving so many more by sharing your gift.
absolutely. I mean, it's dark times sometimes right now, and I'm always thinking, well, what can I do? I need to look for that thing. Who can I help? What can I do? And really, it just comes to me doing what I do, and that is going to help somebody. It's going to, I've had people reach out to me and say, I watch you on Instagram, or I see what you're doing, and just so exciting, and it makes me want to start drawing again, or it makes me want to, and we have these conversations. I'm like, just do it. Do it. Don't be ashamed or embarrassed, just keep working on it. And so if that's what I can do to help, then I mean, it's natural, and so I'm happy to do that.
Absolutely. I mean, it does make a difference. You're being authentic, right? So when we kind of let go of that concept of that, hustle culture, we may be hustling per se, but it's not hustling in the way that people normally see it. It's not a job. It's part of who you are. So it comes natural. So I don't know, tell me if you feel this way, like there's not enough hours in a day to do what you want to do because you love it so much.
Yeah. I struggled for a little while because and this is just such a great message to anyone who is, endeavoring to be an artist in any way. You feel like, okay, I've got to create my style, like I've got to create a style so that, everything I do is a style and people know my style. And I read a book by Rick Rubens. I reread it. It's like my Bible. But one thing he said in it is, your style is there. It's always been there. It is in what you choose to paint. It's like your subject matter. It's the colors. It's what you just do naturally. It's already there. You don't need to fabricate that, because when you're fabricating it, you can't continue that. If you are really engaged with what it is that you love and you want to do, then you don't have to keep manufacturing that. It's just going to come. And that's the best message that I have.
Yeah, I'm interested in reading that book. What was the name of the book again?
It's called The Creative. Oh, I can't remember. Rick Rubens.
Put it in the notes.
Yes, we will. We will.
But I mean, I really feel like trying to fabricate what artists call concentration is kind of counterproductive, because it's not sustainable. Because what you're doing is you're looking at other people and trying to emulate what you think you are. But part of the process, the creative process, which I don't care if you're in business or if you're in the art world, there's always a creative process to everything that we do. It's so important to follow that process naturally. You can't rush it. You can't slow it down. It has a life of its own, and you have to just go with the flow.
And as soon as you let go, because you want that purity of what it is that you want to express, and as soon as you start trying to manufacture it, it's muddying that purity, and it takes longer, than just letting go and just doing it.
And eventually people recognize you for your work because they see that continuity throughout. And just like any other artist, a musician, they they put it out an album and they have a whole concept behind that album. But then maybe 5 years down the road, they want to dabble in country music where they started in rock. You know, it's something that is the artist way. You need to evolve. We're constantly changing, and I think that's the beauty of what we do.
Yep.
So, what do you think about, let's see, some of your setbacks that you came along through that process when you made that shift into focusing on fine art, using your gifts and serving others with your gift? What kind of setbacks did you find mentally, physically?
Setbacks happen all the time. It's a constant job to not listen to the negative, and comparing can set you back. Yeah, I mean, the college thing was, that was a setback. When you start telling yourself, I'm not as good as, there's days when I'm like, what am I doing this for? This is torture. Because, you know what you want to do so badly, and it doesn't come easy, and it takes a lot of work. And, I get better with I had a conversation with an artist friend yesterday, and she said, I was talking to she's kind of in a down spot because we get in those up and down spots. And she's like, I talked to this friend who said my work, like he looked at my work and he said, oh, you're really improving. And she took this as, like an insult. And I'm like, well, we are. Don't focus on that. We are improving. That's what we want to do. I want to get better and better and better. I don't ever want to stop learning and getting better. And who's to say what's better anyway? It's in that process of just trying and working and also getting out in the world and seeing. And that's another Rick Rubin thing. It's like we have this vessel on our head, like we've all been through everything, we all have these filters. So we go out and we talk to people and we see beautiful things and we look at art and we listen to music, and it's all going in. And then all of our filters that we have from our childhood and all these things, they're like filtering everything through. And then what comes out is, you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I mean,
that seems sort of off subject, but
no,
that's where I went with my thoughts.
Would you think that your setbacks have actually added to your talents and your skills, like, something that you were really struggling with, but sometimes those setbacks really help us in the long run.
Yeah.
So what would be an example of something?
I wouldn't call it a setback, but just like a learned lesson was one of the workshops I did in that first year that I had decided I was going to start work, was I had a teacher who, we were painting, and he came up to my canvas and he took the brush and he started painting, and I'm like, no, because I felt like, then it's not mine anymore. You're painting. And he got upset with me for doing that. I left that day. It was like the second day of a 5-day workshop, and I left that day, and I called my mentor, and I'm like crying, and she's like, Mary? I'm like, I'm not going to come back. And she's like, Mary, tomorrow, she's like, you are there to learn. Tomorrow you're going to go back in there, and when he comes over to your canvas, you are going to hand him your brush, and you're going to have, tell him to show you, and it was a great lesson. And from that moment on in a workshop, I don't attach some finished product when I'm in a workshop. Like, I'm not thinking I'm going to come out of here with a masterpiece. I'm out here to learn something, even if it's just one thing. And that has allowed me to learn a lot, because I can see, because he's doing what I want. I admire what he's doing. I like it. So what am I there for if I'm not there to learn and hand the brush over? Because sometimes that's just what you have to do.
Exactly. And it's kind of a metaphor for life, right?
It's true.
Sometimes you just
Hand
have
it
to
over.
let go.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you feel that, like in your evolution, what have you learned as far as knowing the difference between kind of that ego mind where it's kind of negative self-talk and discouraging to more of your intuition where you really know that that's like the green light? Is it something you envision? Is it something you feel? Is it just does it flow? How does that happen for you?
Well, I just know now that no matter what, I can fix anything that, so if it's not going well, I don't just throw the project away and decide I'm not going to do it anymore. I know that it will get where I want it to go if I just keep working. And some days you just don't have it. Some days you go in your studio and it's just not coming, But I know tomorrow I'm going to go back in there again and it's going to be like great, Yeah.
So what do you do then when you have those moments where you're just like, okay, peace out, I'm done. I can't create today. It's just not happening. What do you do to step away from it or kind of get the juices flowing again, something that inspires you or something that's completely not related? How do you handle that?
Do something completely unrelated, probably go bake.
I was just going to say baking. She always has these amazing recipes. I don't know if you do them by hand, like you make them up or
yes,
whatever.
I love baking.
She'll post them on Instagram. Don't look at her Instagram when you're hungry.
It's just because I love food.
Yeah.
So, and I could live on, I think, bread, and,
I think we all could, right? Let's be real. So is there anything as far as a main takeaway you want to let our viewers and listeners know as far as not giving up on your passions? What would be your main takeaway and what would be your advice for people just getting started?
Well, every year, as part of my Become an Artist Again curriculum, is I go to Florence, Italy for a month, and I go to one of their few classical realism schools. I've been to multiple ones. I meet so many young people because I'm not the young one there usually, and I wish they were all here because they've all been lectured by me to not give up. Don't, everybody's going to do what they're going to do, but don't let anything stop you. Don't let any person stop you. If you're in a relationship that it's making it hard for you to do your art, then it's probably not the best relationship, or you need to have a real conversation about this is what's really important to me. So I'm going to keep doing it. I don't regret anything because I could say, I wasted so many years not doing it, but all of the things that I did instead are all part of me, and it's all coming out now, and it makes me, I probably wouldn't have, I probably wouldn't have stuck with it. I would have who knows what would have happened. So it all happens the way it's supposed to happen. But if you love something so much, just keep doing it somehow.
Absolutely. I feel the same way. Well, I love your story. And do you want to tell us real quick about the show that you have coming up?
Oh, well, one of the competitions, I'm so excited about it. I've done shows and, that's all great and everything. But this was a competition. It's through Cowgirl Artists of America. Working as a docent at the Phoenix Art Museum, we had a lot of Cowboy Artists of America paintings. So it's an association, which I'm proud to have been chosen to do. And the competition was to do a portrait of a woman working on a ranch. So I had to find a partner ranch. They have to sign a contract. My partner ranch is Elkhorn Ranch. It's a guest ranch, but they are cattle farmers, so they're working, and there's some women that are working there. And I'm going to spend the day with them in December, and then gather, do sketches, gather what story I want to tell, and then I'm going to create 2 pieces of work, and they will be on display in Colorado in the summer of 2025. So I think it's great that I get to show women doing this really, really hard job that most people wouldn't do.
Right.
And I get to tell a story about the women there.
And just the idea of being able to give back to them and let the person that you're highlighting reflect on what they've done and how far they've come.
Yeah,
That's really special.
Yep. And I've spoken to a lot of women who work on ranches, and, they say they don't get that kind of attention usually. They're kind of almost not thought about. So it's nice to put them on the front, for a change.
Absolutely. That's so cool. Well, I'd like to thank you for your time and everything that you've shared. And I'd like to ask a few questions at the end, just some fun questions that you just, whatever pops into your head.
Okay.
The first one is, what is your guilty pleasure and why? One of your guilty pleasures.
Oh gosh, I have so many. Could be something like to eat. Baking while binging like Nancy Meyers movies.
Okay.
And It's Complicated's perfect because Meryl Streep's character owns a bakery and she's making croissants and everything. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What is your favorite color and why?
It's going to be such an artist answer.
I know. Well.
Raw umber. Because it's how, I do underpainting, sort of. So I do an underdrawing to my painting, and that's what I use is raw umber. So it's this is the symbol of, a new beginning of a new painting. So.
Nice. I like that. What is something fun about yourself that most people do not know?
No. Well, fun to me, fun to everybody. A fun fact, I just think it's kind of fun. When I was a makeup artist, I did Rick Schroeder and his sister wrote a screenplay for a movie that they were going to make called The Monkey Boys. And they hired me to come out to LA to do a trailer to sell to the studios. And, Richard Tyson, he's an actor, he was in it. And I remember I was doing his makeup. It was we were in a bar, shooting in this weird bar. And it was between takes, and he's chatting with me, and, oh, your name is Mary, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, I just got finished doing this really cool movie. I think it's going to be really big. It's called There's Something About Mary. And it was just it was so cool for me still to this day to know that I knew before anybody else knew about There's Something About Mary,
Right.
and it was a big hit. And he was one of the bad cop. Remember the 2 cops? He was one of those guys. So,
That's funny.
yeah, so that's a fun memory.
Yeah, that's fun. And then last but not least, what is your favorite curse word?
Fangool.
What is
It's
it?
the Italian version
I
of
got
fuck
it.
you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it just sounds nicer.
It has such versatility, right?
It does. Shit would be the second one. It's such a good word.
It's perfect. Well, I love it, Mary, and I'm so honored to have had you here to be part of my new podcast series, The She Spark. And I want to thank you again for just sharing a little bit about yourself with us here today. And it's so important as women that we lift each other up and we pay it forward every single day. I can't stress enough that if you're serving, it just boomerangs back to you. So switch your focus. Don't focus on the success and the fame and the fortune. Focus on being your authentic self, and you will see the world just open up, and it's amazing. And I love that you have done just that. And so thank you. I appreciate
Thank you for
everything
having me.
you do.
I hope all your future podcasts are a lot more interesting than me.
Oh, stop it. You're wonderful. You're wonderful and a dear friend and extremely talented
Thank you.
and
As
wear
are
many
you.
hats. But this hat that you're wearing at the moment is amazing, and it's an honor. Thank you.
Thank you.
And do you want to let our listeners know where to find you?
Sure. I'm on Instagram. I'm Mary Reid, American Artist, all one word. Or you can go to my website, which is maryreid.com or maryreidart.com. I'm sorry.
And we'll put that in the show notes. And also, if you're interested in an empowering portrait session or a mindful intuitive reading, you can reach me at NicholeKathrynStudios.com or Nichole Kathryn on Instagram. So remember to shine your light brightly and keep the spark. Thank you.